Hey, good evening, and welcome back to Real Adult Wisdom. I'm your host, Becky Schaefer, and my co host is back for the long haul. So,
Yes.
Laurie, um,
Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks, Becky. So excited about this.
I am too. Welcome, welcome. Um,
Yeah.
this is where we will continue to talk about healing, identity, courage, and what it really takes to rebuild your life from the inside out. Um, and today we're going to talk about how to navigate endings and reinvention seasons. So, this is like a complete inner and outer toolkit for starting over without completely losing yourself, which is what we tend to do. Um, Today, we're talking about how to navigate endings and reinvention of seasons, not just with motivation, but with real tools. I'm just waiting for you to laugh at me.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna be carrying my little toolbox one of these days. Um,
Yes.
but with real
That'd be
tools,
perfect.
yes. But this one's for your nervous system, your identity, your grief, and your courage. And if you're listening to this in the middle of like an ending of a relationship, a season, a version of yourself, you're not alone and you're not lost. You're in a doorway. I'm going to call this a doorway. Um, some endings break you, some endings wake you up, and some endings do both at the same time. So, this is the space between why you were or who you were and who you're becoming, and it matters more than you think. Because these endings don't mean you failed, they mean the version of you that survived no longer fits the life that's calling you forward. And that can go with being an empty nester and all of that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive into the show here, okay? Pal,
Yeah, let's do it.
co-host.
Let's do it, friend. Yeah, let's bring it.
All right, so I went into like what a reinvention season really is. And I know you liked this one when we were talking about it. So a reinvention season is not a glow up. It's not a fresh start yet. It's a psychological, emotional, and identity level of dismantling that happens before the new life can be built. I know you had something to say
Yeah.
on this because earlier.
I do. I always sprinkle in my little like spiritual stuff in here too. That's the language I speak. So hopefully it appeals to a lot of people in your audience. But when you talk about the reinvention season not being the glow up, not being that quite like turning point yet,
Mm-hmm,
being that doorway leading there, perhaps like a hallway, right?
mm-hmm,
I really think of, I don't know if anyone in the audience here is familiar with tarot at all, but I am a master tarot reader, and it's a lot of the work that I do on my TikTok. If you guys ever want to follow, I do lives daily and daily readings and things. But there's a card in tarot that's called the Hermit, and it's really a hermit that's cloaked like in his cloak, and he's holding a little lamp. And traditionally hermits were the ones who would like go off away from society out into the wilderness and spend time to themselves. And so what I would call that whole little phase that we go through in this process is like your hermit moment, which is a lot of turning inward, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of working through your own shadow aspects,
mm,
a lot of seeking your own clarity, a lot of working on your own alignment, so that when you do come out on the other side here into your glow up or whatever we want to call that, it's something that's really in alignment for you. But what it takes is that turning your energy toward yourself and doing that whole kind of inside work and wrestling with all of these things that maybe you've been keeping suppressed for quite some time that need to be addressed. So I think that's really what the bread and butter of that season is about. What are your thoughts, Becky?
yeah, but I kind of I'm going to back up just a tad bit. So I'm going to go into like how it the reinvention season usually begins when something ends. And
Yes.
so that part that you have built of your identity all of a sudden's gone. Okay. So Like an identity ends. You're no longer the wife. You're no longer the stay at home parent. You're no longer the achiever, the caregiver, the survivor, the stable
Yes.
one. And for me, an empty nester, okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Or a job ends, or you retire. And they're all what we call an identity shift. And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
our brain stores this identity as safety, as belonging, as consistency, because that's kind of how we're programmed to run.
Right.
And so
Right.
when this ends, our brain starts to feel like an abandonment type of thing, like rejected, unanchored. I love using the word anchor, right? So unanchored,
Right.
unsafe. And then our nervous system, that's where our nervous system starts to feel the abandonment, the threat, the loss of your
Starts kicking.
tribe.
Yeah, yeah, kicking into that fight or flight, or
Mm,
that there's actually uh four aspects to the sympathetic nervous system. It's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn,
mm-hmm.
right? And so that's when we kind of can start, the nervous system takes us into those behaviors, and it can be like a really terrifying place, right?
Well, yeah, because people start to say, I don't know who I am anymore. I feel invisible, or, you know, I I feel behind everyone else all of a sudden, with my life. And
Mm,
so these are real feelings. And I know I went through this when I moved here and became an empty nester, because really I didn't know my identity outside of being a full-time mom. Literally. I mean, I knew my identity when I went to school and I was an
mm-hmm,
educator.
mm-hmm,
But when I came home, then my identity shifted from teacher to mom. And so we had hockey, or we had track, or, kid getting ready to go to college, or this or that. And it's like everything revolved around, being a mom. And so when I moved here, I was like, holy shit. Like, who am I? I literally went through a depression. It's like,
right.
it's real. My body didn't know how to cook for one person. I didn't know how to
Mm,
grocery shop for one person. Trust me, I still don't half the time.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't know what to do with myself, because I also moved somewhere where I didn't really know people, you know. So
Yeah.
I got out there, I met people. I got on meetups. I got on the Facebook friend thing, and I met people pretty quickly. So that was good, because it's a pretty active community. So that helped. And my kids came here a lot. So that helped. But this is a real thing. You don't know who you are anymore. And that just takes patience and time. But you also have to do the work. So, of course, I'm going to throw a tool in here.
Yes. Please give us a tool.
Well, okay. Are you ready? Drum roll.
Yes.
So, this one I'm calling the Identity Mapping and Release Tool.
Okay. Yes.
Do you love, I mean,
I love that.
I started writing these down because I just need to have a toolbox one day with all these names in it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, what I mean by the identity mapping and release tool is, like, you have to be able to identify what ended. Because if you
Mm.
can't identify it, then, like, you can't do the work around it, right? So,
Mhm.
what I would have, like, my clients do, or, the listeners, ask yourself, I identify what I am grieving. I am grieving what? I'm
Yes.
grieving the empty nester. I'm grieving I lost my wife. I'm grieving
Mhm. The
the
job.
healthy one, the successful one.
Yeah.
I'm grieving the fixer. I'm grieving, and this is all who you are, right? I'm grieving the one
Mhm.
who held everything together. Like, and then ask what that identity gave you. Like, what did that identity give me?
Mhm.
So when I came here and I had to ask myself, okay, I'm grieving being an empty nester. And I had to ask what that identity gave me. It gave me a lifetime of amazing memories. It gave me a lifetime of knowing I raised two amazing human beings, right? And so by mapping that out, I have to then ask, what did this version of me provide emotionally?
Mm.
Okay, for me, it provided love, and in a sense, probably control, right?
Sure.
Um, and worth and safety. Well, and belonging.
Sure. Yes.
I mean, list can go on, right? Because
Yeah.
when you have your family and kids, right, you belong to a family. It's, everybody's safe when they come home at night. You've got love all around you. And I did kind of control their schedule, right? Because I'm the mom and I set the rules. So like I kind of lost that because now they're like free and doing what they want. It's like, ugh, oh my God.
Yeah.
They don't have to ask like, hey, can I go to so and so? They just go do it, right?
Right.
Um, and your worth, like my worth took a tank for a minute because I'm just like, what am I? Without being a mom. And so like you have to think about all of these powerful impacts, but then we also have to give ourselves permission to move through that doorway into the hallway and be like, okay, this is where the hallway is where all the tools are going to come in, right? This is
Yes,
where
to
you're going
help
to like
you
feel all this and then
along the
get the
way. Yeah.
hell out of that hallway and live life 2.0.
Right. Yeah. Step through door 2.0, right toward the end. But there, it's so important to talk about that transition period in between, and what do you do with yourself. And that's why I
Mm,
think it's so great that you offer all of these tools in your book. And in my work, I offer these tools in forms of rituals and practices. And different modalities of healing and things like that. That's really the time when it's the time for you to hit those tools really hard, because that's what's going to help you raise your own resonance, so to say, raise your own frequency to go ahead and get in to that next level that you're moving into, because you quite literally can't be the same person you were before
right.
moving into a new life, right? It's just not going to work. So then that's where the stages of grieving come in around all of that. That's when the tools come in to help you come more into alignment, get clear on what you're doing, where you're going, how you're going to do it, so that when you get to door 2.0,
Mhm.
you're ready to step through it. And even listen, even after you do step that doorway, there's still going to be some struggles, but the thing is you'll
Mhm.
have those tools and those practices to help you, instead of just, I guess, what would
Right.
we say, sailing around out here, not being anchored, right? So when you were talking
Mm,
about, you were in the life that had an aspect of control, that had the comfort, the expectations, everything was a good routine, you felt
mhm.
safety. That's like an anchor moment, definitely.
Yes,
But
yes,
then when the anchor lifts and you're out here just sailing around, what are you going to do, and what do you have to rely on? And so it's in those moments where you can turn to your tools and help them, or have them help you
exactly.
reinvent who you are, what you're going through, and find your way back onto the navigation point, right? So maybe you can anchor again.
Right. And that's where you ask, what that identity gave me. But I also want to make it clear it's not always like the identity that you've had's not always a positive one either. Like some people have gone through some, horrible things in their life
Right.
where all they know is this like identity that is not a good thing. And so then I want to ask, like, what did it cost you? What did it cost
Mm,
you to carry this identity that you're trying to break away from? Did it cause you to be your authentic self? Did it cause you to not set boundaries? Did it cause you to not rest or have a voice or have the desire to do things that you need to do in your life because you just felt so anchored down, not in a positive way, right? And did you not speak
yes.
your truth? And so I think we have two types of identity in our life. We have our identity where like we're raising kids and then like, life moves on and things in life changes and maybe jobs change or somebody lost a job, you go through a divorce, but then we also have the identity where people hide who they are. They live this life to make everyone else happy around them. So they lose their authentic self and their voice because they're living a life for somebody else besides themselves. And
Hmm.
so when you have that realization, the power to, you know, dig deep and find your identity, you got to think about the identity that you're not going to carry forward with you anymore. Like, what version of you are you finally allowed to lay down or bury, get rid of, kick it, burn it? Like, what identity can you now allow yourself to lay down? Make sense?
Yeah, I think it definitely makes sense because, especially when you talk about growing into a new phase of your life or reinventing yourself in a way, which I think a lot of women find themselves an opportunity to do throughout different points of their life, it is so important to take assessment of what wasn't serving me in this season
Mhm.
and what patterns do I not want to repeat around that? What programming do that I've adopted that I need to do healing around and self-coaching around through different tools and things like that, to now that I have the opportunity, because what seems like a breakdown really is an opportunity, like we've talked about before, to become
Mhm.
something else that is more fulfilling and truthful for us. And so I think it's so important that, yeah, we do take a nod to the pieces of ourselves that maybe, or decisions that we had made where we were in a comfortable space,
Right.
to make sure that maybe we don't repeat those same things again, and that we can set ourselves free from whatever had been limiting us in that phase of our life. And so it's just about having a really comfortable
Mhm.
conversation with yourself, I think. And the tools that you talked about can really help you walk that path. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as, as you're going through this, you can remind yourself, like you don't have to know who you're becoming. You only have to know who you're done being. Kind of like
Yes.
kind of like what you were just saying, like as you're quietly awakening to this new part of you, being more honest, more bounded, more curious, more calm, more courageous. Like get out there and try some stuff. Um, and you don't have to know what the next step is. Just know that you're not going to go backwards to, what that was. I mean, I talk about empty nester, but there's been, I left a relationship and that wasn't easy because your identity is built a little around that at that point of your life. I think we go through many different identities. And I left a job, that was my identity for 26 years to come to another job because it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. But that took a courageous a move because I didn't just leave that job. I also moved a couple states away and whoo, boy, girl. I mean, if you just went, I just jumped off a
It's a
cliff
lot.
and was hoping I would fly, and sometimes you just have to do that.
Yes, yes, you do. And I think people like you and I, and maybe perhaps many in the audience who have done this before, have experienced the terror that can come with jumping off a cliff, but also the
Mm,
absolute freedom, because only then can you find out how you will fly. I'm not going to say if you will fly, I'm going to say how you will fly, because you can
mhm,
fly. You just have to know what that's going to look like for you. Also, another thing that I've come to know as a truth through my practice and working with clients is that the universe favors bold moves. It
mm,
favors bold moves. So if you are going to walk away from something that is safe, for instance, I have a 15-year background in corporate healthcare and mental health. And when I decided to walk away from that a year and a half ago, I had no idea how all of this was going to work. I
right,
just didn't.
right.
I just went and did it. And I just knew that if I did the work, because you have to put in the work into all of this. We can't just sit around and expect it to come to us, because that's not the reciprocal energy of the universe. So you put in the work, and everything you put in, you will get out of it. And you will encounter obstacles and limitations, but those are the opportunities for you to grow and for you to really refine or define what your style is. Okay, this is an obstacle or limitation. How am I going to navigate this now? What other tools do I need to learn to expand my
Mhm,
own knowledge to be able to continue down this path and go the direction I want to go? Because for many of us, there's no
mhm,
going back. If I know for me that there's no going back to the life that the identity I had set down, the
mhm,
way that you had phrased that, Becky. So I think that it definitely involves stepping outside of your comfort zone, and
mhm.
you have to be courageous. Let's give the credit that credit is due to the amount of bravery that it takes. Some people will call it craziness, or because they
Yeah,
won't understand it. They don't understand it. But when
yeah,
there's some move you have to make, or something you just have to do to move into that 2.0
mhm,
doorway, You have to keep your faith very strong. And whether if that's in yourself or in a higher source or all things, to keep moving forward and keep working your options and see what kind of magic you can make happen.
So I'm gonna go back and give you a tool for all that. I'm just gonna
Yay.
I'm just gonna call it permission slip. like
Oh, right.
like
Yeah. We've had this
yeah,
one before. I love this one.
like just give yourself the permission slip. You are gonna grieve it, right? So like give
Sure.
yourself permission to grieve the version of the life that you did not continue, right? So when I left, I'm like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? I took a big pay cut. I know everybody there. I'm comfortable, blah, blah, blah. And I come
Yeah.
here and it's like, sometimes, I'm an AIG specialist with the schools here. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you feel like you fit in and other times you don't, because pretty much your work is pretty independent and you're really not a part of like any type of team. So it's just kind of a, a weird position here versus where I came
Mm-hmm.
from, right? Where I came
Mm-hmm.
from, we were like a whole building. We were all a big team and we were all gifted specialists, but we were a whole building of them. Whereas you come here and there's only one per building. It's like, oh my goodness. But I think, yeah, you have to give yourself permission to grieve the version of that life that you're no longer continuing so that you can actually get excited about this new life. It took me a good year.
Yeah.
And I have to say though, that grief is not a weakness. I used to be like, oh my God, I suck. I'm so weak. And you know what? It is not a weakness. It's a doorway to the reinvention. And that's like your doorway. If you can't grieve to get to the other side, then you're not going to get to the other side. You're going to bring all that with you. You're going to bring all that
Yes.
baggage through that door. It's like Santa
Yes.
Claus trying to go up the chimney. It's like, I just
What I'm
pictured that.
Yeah. Yes, it can definitely look and feel that way. But I would like to give everyone this visual. Grief is the weight that you lift to
Mm,
strengthen your own spiritual muscle and your own personal development. So if we can think
mm,
of grief as like a weight that we work with instead of just carrying it and it being a burden, but something that we can lift and work with to help strengthen us,
mhm,
because again, like we talked about on the last episode, grief is a sacred and holy rite of passage,
mhm.
in many ways, for to open us up spiritually and energetically to move into different forms of ourselves, because grief does change us in whatever form it comes. So yeah.
It does, but it's so important that you don't go back to what's familiar because that's what we do. Because this
Right.
whole this whole reinvention feels so unsafe at first to the body, like our whole
Oh, yes,
nervous
it does.
system. It's like your familiar routines are gone, your known identities are gone. All of a sudden, you're
Right.
like having anxiety and panic, and like, oh my gosh, attachment urges. And I'm going to say that because I was so ready to go back to Ohio and just go back to my old like job and back to my old people. And not that they're old. Love you guys, by the way, because they do listen. And like, but I almost wanted to go back because it was uncomfortable here. And I wanted to go back to the old patterns and the old emotional roles. And because it would have been easy, right? Not because
Yeah.
it was healthy, but because it was familiar. And that's what we as humans tend to do. We tend to stop at that doorway and not walk through it. We come back. And I I'll tell you, I did. I almost went back. And then I
I
had
hear
to
you.
really, really look around where I was and be like, I can't go back there.
I
I
hear
can't
you.
go back there. I moved here to get healthy and that's what I did. And
Yes.
I mean, I had to like inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. And I just had to say, okay, I am safe in this moment. Even if my life is unclear, I am safe in this moment. And my life was kind of unclear. I mean, I have a career job, right? And like I have like this great thing. And now look what has happened in this last year. And it's just if you allow yourself to walk through that door and use those tools in the hallway so that you can get to 2.0. I mean, hell, like I wrote a book. We're doing this. I mean, like my business is growing. It's it really is a courageous thing to do, to walk forward. And I don't think
Yes.
people give themselves the permission slip or the grace.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And it can be such a scary thing. And I think back to, because when you set down that identity, just remember that you left it for a reason. You decided to
Right.
set that down for a reason. And it's important to remind yourself of what those reasons are along the way when you start to want to just revert back, because well, at least you were able to survive that way.
Hmm.
Right. So I think that it's it's just such a process, and just keeping full steam ahead, being utterly and completely devoted to yourself. Self
Mm.
devotion is so important in this process. And so, for instance, for me, when I left corporate, of course, and in healthcare too, there's a certain professional standards that you have to hold around yourself to be acceptable in that community. And so for me, I decided to finally come out, so to say, on my social media all over, and to my family and on Facebook, that, like, hey, here's who I actually am. Like, I know I've built this entire career of being this professional
Hmm.
and everything like that, but who I actually am is a spiritualist, a channel, a psychic, a tarot reader. I do all of these things that are so taboo, and I was so terrified to let people see me that way. And what I've had to do is really just become devoted to myself and who I am and my own gifts, and
Hmm.
walk that path truthfully and cleanly. Yes, this means I will lose some people along the way. Yes, this means that people will speak about me in certain ways, but it's not about pleasing them anymore. It's about really
Right.
walking in your own alignment, so that way you can reach that next level that you see yourself going to. And so
Right.
it's just staying committed, keeping the tools in your tool belt.
Hmm.
Many nights I wake up with the recurring thoughts of, how am I going to make this work? What's going to happen? All of the typical struggles that we get sometimes with anxiety.
Mm.
And I go right into my self Reiki healing and my meditation. I go into my programming and my affirmations. I do exactly what you said, Becky, which I love, is do the breath work, do some breathing. So then it becomes somatic within the body. And the body begins to realize the truth. The nervous system begins to calm down. I do body work practices on my clients to help their nervous system and myself. It's something I've created called the open body practice, where it's about trauma unwinding through the tissues. It's about opening the different joints, somatic pressure points throughout the body. So these are practices I lean heavily on,
Hmm.
particularly because I don't use medication. Now, I'm not knocking medication. I've been medicated before for many years to help me get through some things. But what I'm finding now is just using those tools that I can sit down and work, that
Hmm.
are going to help keep bringing me back, because it's so easy to spiral, you guys. I went through a
Hmm.
whole spiral period last week. I was fucking spiraling out, homies. Like, I was really having a moment where I was losing it. This was last week. However, now this week I'm making so much traction and gain off of the energy that was quote unquote negative from that, able to transmute it in a way, okay, well, if I have all of this negative energy, how can I channel it into a way that's going to help solidify the direction that
Hmm.
I'm going? And so I think bringing empowerment back into your field, and
Hmm.
turning what feels like something that's overwhelming and paralyzing into something that gets you excited to create and propel yourself forward. And that's been a really huge tool for me and for my clients as well, bringing the empowerment back home.
So I'm going to build on that empowerment, by the way, because I do a thing called the micro rebuild strategy.
Uh-huh.
And so of this, I ask my clients, so instead of asking yourself, like, what is my purpose now? Or, how do I move forward in this? I do this 2% micro rebuild is what I call this. So like I ask, what gives you 2% more calm? Like, how do you
Mm,
feel just 2% more calm right now in this doorway? Okay. What gives you 2% more clarity? And what gives you 2% more strength? So
mm,
this reinvention is built in micro steps, not massive. Like you don't go train for a marathon, you know,
That's
in
right.
one day. And that's kind of like what this is. And then eventually this allows you of the rebuilding of self-trust, especially after something ends, because endings often fracture self-trust sometimes. Like, how did I not see that? Why did I stay there? Or, why did I leave? So we start questioning stuff before we allow the micro steps to bring in some clarity and some strength and some calm. We want to like go back real quick where we think it's comfortable. But really, when you get to that other side, you realize that really wasn't comfortable. Um, so this whole self-trust thing comes into this as well. So self-trust is not built through perfection. It's rebuilt through honest recognition. And
Yes.
this is just where you know really have to ask yourself, like, okay, before I got to this doorway, where was I self-abandoning myself? Where did I protect myself? What did this season teach me about my needs? And then get through
Mm-hmm.
that doorway and look at this as like self-awareness, not self-blame, not going back to what was familiar. It's almost like self-leadership. It's like your moment of reinvention power. It's the moment where you allow your whole story to shift from why did I do this to like, yes, this is why I did it, and why not? Like, I'm going to go into this. Like, why not you?
Yeah,
Why not you be
exactly.
the one to
Yeah.
heal differently? Why not you be the one to choose something different? Why not you becoming free? Because I'll tell you what, I needed to move. I did. Is this my landing place? Absolutely not. Nope, nope, nope. It has been a great stepping stone for my life, for what I needed to do at this particular time in my life. And that's okay. But
Yes.
because I got through that doorway, I'm not scared to pack up and move again. Like I got through probably the biggest hurdle. I've never left Ohio. I lived in Columbus for 30 years.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
just packed up a U-Haul and drove here. And I can't even do the lesbian U-Haul joke because it was just me and my dog.
Stop it. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is too funny.
Look, I had to throw something in there, okay? So
Right.
it wasn't exactly reinventing myself, but it's a calming place being in the mountains. It really is.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
more calm at the ocean.
True. True. Yeah, but I think you landed at like a really great place that has allowed all of this to
Oh,
develop for you. And
it,
then
it's
when you
been
talk,
amazing.
yes. Oh gosh, I can't even imagine. Yeah, I mean, despite the struggle, the beauty that's come out of all of it too is really quite amazing. And I love that you talk about shift and that you talk about shifting
Mm,
kind of in micro doses,
yes.
right? At the 2% or something like that. So
We
when
don't
we
mean
start
mushrooms.
no, no, not that. But like microdosing your own transformation. How's that? And your own shift. Because when you
Yeah.
make a big shift or you make a timeline hop, so to say, is what I call it. When you pop yourself into a
Mm,
new timeline, it doesn't happen all at once. This
mhm.
takes exact practical work along the way to help you get there.
Yes,
This is
yes.
why I have a tool. I finally have a tool to talk about.
Yay!
I have something that I've developed called the 21-day shift. It's an energetic
Mm,
recalibration. So, and it's available in my marketplace right now. You can find all the links on my website, opengatewellnesstx.com. 21-day shift. It's $21, right? So it's $1 a day for you to change your life. So, like, if you get this today, you'll have this done by the beginning of the year. You'll be a different person at the end of it. And how do I do this? Well, it's structured in a way that each day there's a piece, there's a prompt, there's an energy work, and then there's a teaching. And it might take you just like 15 minutes a day to sit down and do this. But you do those
mhm.
little, for lack of a better term, you do those little micro doses every day.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this starts to rebuild your psyche. It starts to speak to your nervous system and your body. And it starts
Mhm.
to um, clear your field and bring you more into alignment into where you need to be. So it's just tools like that. Also, anyone else out there who's listening who needs more guidance or support, because maybe a lot of us don't have family who's going to support us through this period either.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like you can feel so alone, and that can be a very dangerous
Mhm.
place when you start to feel
Mhm.
just like very, very lonely and depressed and anxious. I encourage you to go find communities online. I think that's one of the
Mhm.
silver linings of COVID is that so many people have developed more ways to connect virtually. Go find
Yes.
some groups, go research some women or men or whoever who have gone through the same thing that you're struggling with. Because I guarantee you, whichever issues you're struggling with or dealing with, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. And
Mhm.
there's other people out there who have gone through these things too, who are willing to help because they know what it's like to be on that path. And I think
Right.
that speaks to women just like you and me. So begin to look for all of your resources and make sure that you keep filling that toolbox.
Yes. Or turn to one of us,
Or
life
that.
coaches. Yes.
We're right
We
here, right?
we will help give you some tools.
Yes,
Trust
absolutely.
Becky's bag of tools, right?
Becky's bag of tools. That's right. That's
So
right.
I have like this reinvention action map thing too that like so I was thinking like body, mind, heart, growth, and voice, right? And
Yeah,
so like your body, obviously you got to have like movement, rest, and nourishment in order to have all this action happen. Mind, like therapy, life coaching, journaling and reflecting. And then your heart, like this is where you're setting your boundaries, your grief work, your forgiveness, so I have one for each one of these, right? So growth
yeah.
is learning, coaching, skill building, and then your voice is um, one honest conversation this week. Like just have one honest conversation with yourself this week because these small choices rebuild identity faster than big promises. Like don't make these big
That's right.
promises. Just do these little micro doses. And if you have to go back and listen to the reinvention action map of the body, mind, heart, growth, and voice, we're at 36, probably 36 minutes is
Hmm.
when I went in and explained all that.
Yeah,
Um, but you know, the thing is here, like you're not behind, you're not broken, and you know, you're in between this sacred ground. So if you've trusted that the ending was guiding you instead of pushing you, what would you allow yourself to begin exploring now? Like ask yourself that. What do I want to go explore now? Like I don't know. Personally, I was ready for a change in life, you
yeah,
know. Um just I was just ready for a change. You know, I just watched my two of my, you know, my parents pass away, my brother passed away of cancer, my best friend. I was working on black mold, inner city. Kids were already raised, and I'm like, I've got to go. I've got to
yes.
go. I'm going to the mountains.
There you
Um,
go.
and so, you know, like before we totally let everybody go, I just want to remind the audience, you know, that you don't need whole life figured out to be exactly where you're supposed to be today. Heck, I'm 52 and every day I'm building and growing, you know. It's okay if all you can do right now is breathe and rest and take one small honest step forward, the micro steps, right? This is still
Exactly.
movement. This is still strength. It doesn't Nobody is looking at the step that you're taking. We're not out measuring it, but every little movement is strength. Hold compassion for who you are. Hold curiosity for who you're becoming, you know? And when the ending feels heavy, remember endings do not erase you, they refine you. So, this ending that you're standing in, it's not a punishment, it's an invitation. I think we've said that before too. This is an invitation. And if you're waiting for a sign to begin again, this is it. Like for real,
Yeah, for
you know?
real. Yeah, yeah, these really difficult moments are the signal for us to begin again. And if you're here listening to us, this is your sign also, right? Nothing
Mhm.
happens by accident. So, I hope everyone keeps hanging on, keeps continuing to learn. And I want us to accept the idea that we may never like get to this place where we feel like, oh, we've have it all, we've done it all, because that's not the point of being here. The
Right.
point is always to keep learning and to keep
Mhm.
growing until we go back home. So just know that all of this is completely natural and you're on a blessed path. You just have to
Yes.
go through it. Yeah.
And why not you choose differently and why not you heal deeper and why not you start again without abandoning yourself?
Yeah.
Why not
You're worth
you?
the work. You're worth the work. You definitely are. Why not?
Why not? I just love that title.
Yes. It's so good.
So, we want to say thank you so much for joining our little chat this evening,
Yes.
listening to Real Adult Wisdom. I'm Becky Schaefer, your host, and
Oh, I'm Solari as well, your co host. Welcome to your new Monday
yay!
Night Raw. Hope you keep joining us here. We're going to keep having these conversations and bringing to you the things that hopefully you need to hear to help you along your journey.
Absolutely. And then the only announcement I have is December 22nd. I will be in Columbus, Ohio at FABO, in Dublin, with another author. We will be doing a live podcast and a book signing. So I'm super excited to be back home. Speaking of going back home,
Yeah.
I'm just going to visit this time, though. I'm okay.
Well,
Um,
no, you're taking your reinvented self back home. So
I
that's exciting.
am with my books. I'm so
Yes.
excited. So
Yes.
we will be signing. I will be signing books at Fabo in Dublin. Um, Monday, March. I'm already in March. December, Monday,
Yes.
December 22nd at
Yes.
6 p.m. Yay! All right,
Beautiful, Becky.
everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. And we look
Thanks, everyone.
forward to seeing all of our friends next Monday.
Yes. Have a great week.